Good morning. Good morning to you all, both in person and live on YouTube, to the Easter Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg. My name is Ben Atherton Zeman, and believe it or not, I am the minister here. I am very excited to be leading worship alongside our new worship associate, Stephanie Frick.
Thank you, Bunny Ben. We are a people of many beliefs, but we share a common faith that what we do in this world matters and that we are connected to one another and to our planet. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your journey, you are welcome here. I want to give a special welcome to any newcomers. If you want a church where Black Lives Matter, where women's rights are human rights, and where we believe science is real, I have good news. You may have found your church home. There will be an Easter egg hunt following church services today. Also, we are holding a new member class today at 1 o'clock, following the outdoor coffee hour.
Thanks, Stephanie. Today's worship is entitled Awakening and Rebirth. It's the third in this month's theme of awakening. We began marking April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month by awakening to injustice, followed by last week's awakening to healing and light. Passover began on Friday, so Ha Pesach Sameach, I think that's how you say it, to all the UUs of Jewish heritage, both in this room and online. And it's also still Ramadan, so Ramadan Mubarak to all the UU Muslims here. John Arterton and James Mack are back from their time away last weekend. They will be providing music along with Aaron Cassette and the amazing Bell Choir. Yay! Kelly Olson and Marissa Pohl are live streaming. Our greeters are Carol Ulmer, David Cole, Rachel Williams, Jamie Gray, and Aaliyah Cannon. We have religious education volunteers, but I did not get their names. Do we want to shout them out, or? We don't want to shout them out. El Maldonado is an RE volunteer. Thank you, El. Along with Janae Johnson and Trish Harding supporting them, our view from the pew will be from Rebecca Wilson. Now let us take a moment to center ourselves for the worship.
Our flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. It is a symbol of hope, the sacred, the quest for truth, the warmth of community, the light of reason, and so much more. When Rev Ben lights our chalice, I invite you to say our covenant out loud. The words can be found in the text chat. If you like, you may choose to follow along with the hand movements. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant. Dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and love, and to help one another. Please turn to hymn number 61 in the gray hymnal, Lo, the Earth Awakens Again. We would like to invite you to rise up, and stand as you are willing and able.
And since everyone is masked, feel free to sing along. In fact, please do. Lo, the earth awakes again. Hallelujah. From the winter's bond and pain. Hallelujah. Bring we leaf and flower and spread. Hallelujah. To adorn this happy day. Hallelujah. Once again the word comes true. Hallelujah. All the earth shall be made new. Hallelujah. Now the dark cold days are over. Hallelujah. Spring and gladness before. Hallelujah. Change that mourning into praise. Hallelujah. And for dirges anthems raise. Hallelujah. How our spirits soar and sing. Hallelujah. How our hearts sleep with the spring. Hallelujah.
Please be seated. We now come to the time in our worship service for joys, sorrows, and concerns. Those of you on YouTube Live, please type your joys, sorrows, and concerns into the text chat. Those of you here, you may fill out this form. And Joanne, you have one. Do you want to bring it to Stephanie, please? And anyone else who has it can raise it up like Joanne just did. Stephanie, let's do these two first, shall we? Starting with you. And then Rebecca will place a stone in the water for each one that was submitted this week.
From Joanne Kellner, a stone of concern for her coworker Stacy, who requests prayers for her niece Amber, who was recently arrested on suspicion of child abuse after a child she babysat for said she put him in the dryer, closed the door, and he went round and round.
A stone of sorrow from Kelly DeGraw, who says, "We lost my brother-in-law, his 62nd birthday on April 11th of this year. So sorry for your loss."
A stone of joy from John and James, who celebrated their 17th wedding anniversary yesterday.
And the sky didn't fall. A stone of concern from new member Ashley Healy, who is watching live on YouTube. Hi, Ashley. Ashley's stranded right now. So hello from your nameless hotel in Georgia. She began driving all the way to South Dakota, only to have her car break down yesterday in Georgia. Hope you can get back on the road soon, Ashley. Yeah, please.
A stone of joy for our visitor Jana Lee, who celebrated her 87th birthday yesterday.
Where are you, Jana Lee? So Jana Lee's in the back there, and we're going to end our joys, sorrows, and concerns with an unusual way of ending. John and James have taught me a birthday song. It's not the one you know. So with your permission, we will sing it for you now.
This is your birthday song. It isn't very long.
And we place the final stone in. It's hard to make a hard turn from that. This is like the really serious part. We place the final stone for those joys, sorrows, and concerns that remain in our hearts, perhaps too tender to be yet shared out loud. And let's take a moment of silence together. The mystery is that we are connected even when we feel apart. So let us rejoice in our beloved community that makes of the many one. So may it be. UU St. Pete Bell Choir. Wow. We would like to invite any children to come forward for our time for all ages. And take your time, I have a lot to set up. All right. So, I feel like I'm talking to the back of your head. Is there a way? I'm looking at, yeah. Can they sit so that they're facing me? Because I'm telling the story, yeah. That is a balloon. It's part of the story. Stephanie or Rebecca, can you help? Pardon me. Excuse me. Don't fall. Yeah, the two more balloons. Thank you, thank you. It's amazing how balloons fly around. You don't. Thank you, Stephanie. So close. I still see mostly the backs of heads. How should we do this? Okie doke, cool. Hello. Nice to see you all. Thanks for coming. Some of you are new, and I appreciate your being brave. What? Okay, do what you need to do, Trish. I don't have my lines anyway. This is just like we rehearsed it. All right. Thanks, Trish. Thanks, Shanae. Thanks, Rebecca. The theme of the story is let go and let in. Tough question. Who knows what this is? It is, in fact, a balloon. Yes. Yeah? And it is colored. Yes? And it's a pink balloon. Exactly. Now, it's a little reddish. You have a good point. Here's the thing. Sometimes we have to let go of something in order to let in something new. There's the lesson. Let go to let something in. And the letting go can be easy and gentle, like the releasing of a balloon that then strikes somebody. And please don't pop the balloons, because at least one of you and me are afraid of popping the balloons. And then my props are all wrong. And then sometimes the letting go, so where were we? Gentle letting go? Gentle letting go? Anyone else want gentle letting go? Gentle letting go. Yay. And then, thank you. Sometimes the letting go is not so gentle. Sometimes it's loud, a little scary, even comical. And sometimes the letting go is even louder and quite scary. This is the time we talked about. Y'all ready? You ready? No. No? Loud and scary. It wasn't too scary? It's a ticket? What does a ticket do? You could go to the carnival ride, okay. What else might a ticket do? You could go in the movie theater, yeah? It takes it to places you really want to go. None of which is a balloon, right? Could we have gotten the ticket if we hadn't let the balloon go? We could have. You think you hand the ticket with the balloon? Thanks. They wouldn't know what it is. So we have to let it go in order to get the ticket. The ticket could be to the movies. It could be to some surprise to where? To who? A carnival. But we have to let go of the first thing to get to the second thing. So, for example, remember we talked, some of you were here months ago when we talked about a caterpillar has to let go of munching on leaves to then be a butterfly. I'm trying to get to you. And then they're chrysalis. The topic of the service is chrysalis. But then the chrysalis has to let go of being safe in the cocoon in order to be what? Free. To be free. I almost threw out my shoulders. What else? Any followers of football? Okay, so the quarterback, instead of being the star, Tom Brady, who used to be one of my New England Patriots and now isn't, he has to let go of being like the star and throwing a touchdown pass in order to let in the running back who can then score the touchdown. What other examples of letting go and letting in do you have? Yeah, go ahead. That is a great example. Let's all do it together. Take a deep breath in. You have to let go of the breath. Take the deep breath out. What else, Jade? You could let the balloon out with your mouth. It's not just children who need to let go of things in order to let something else in. which is what the rest of the worship service will be about. But at this point, the rest of you will go to your religious education classes, and I believe there is a real bunny involved, thanks to one of our new members. But first, John will lead you in a song.
So we understand that some of the children don't really like the song we've been doing, to lead you off. So we're just trying something new today, and we thought we'd do it to a familiar tune. So you see the words in your program, top of the second page. Goes like this. As you leave this sacred place, there's a smile on every face. May this time while we're apart bring you joy and fill your... Good luck. Go now in peace. May love increase. Let the lessons that you learn guard your heart till you return. Oh, I think when we get the choir going next fall, we have some new recruits.
Good morning, good morning. Usually with the kids, so seeing adults, there's adults here. Hello, everyone. So I have a poem for this morning that I prefer to read after the kids left because it's about a tree, the cucumba tree, cucumbuca tree. When a tree is cut, I could smell the blood of the trees. I can smell the pain, the scented screams of a dishonorable death. No partridge of thanks or gratitude, only harsh focus of needing to clear space for monetary gain. Where the tree is cut, I see the network be severed. A generation be taken, an old oak, the wise woman in the willows. Where we have separated our spirits, where have we separated our spirits from that of which the earth, Gaia seeds and fruits? Why do we not value each being as an extension of ourselves, both the good and the bad? What is quantifiable regarding the quantum entanglement of the definitions we gave to the two opposing words, good and bad? What does that really mean? What if the trees are being taken so we can actually learn to see their worth? What if they're being cleared so we can learn to acknowledge the beauty, so we can reconnect to our essence within the very roots of the source? The two sproutlets that have pushed through the concrete, pushing through the perseverance of our ancestors in the trees and the wind that blows. Interconnected as our lungs reflect the trees, as the trees' functionality reflect our hearts, how can we not see? It's time to see from which we came. In essence, in the rings of a bark within our own fingertips. The hymnals of the chords that resonate on the frequency of Om. Unquantifiable yet tangible. I hear you. I pray every time I hear a tree fall. Our ancestors live in these trees. The transferred energy of the spark of life and unconditional love. No matter the conditions of Gaia, the trees and flowers still grow. The green still shows. And so when a tree is cut, I can smell the blood, the sap of syrup that opens my heart, the nourishment of the tree, like a mother to a newborn. The roots go deep, deep, deep down until they reach. When the tree is cut, her roots alert the trees, the smell of life she sends away. Please do not ever forget me.
I forgot to ask the children before they left what the Easter Bunny's favorite kind of music is. Does anybody know? Hip hop!
That's what Google told us this morning when we asked for an Easter joke.
It's been a long, dark night, and I've been waiting for the morning.
It's been a long, hard fight, but I see a brand new day a-dawning.
I've been looking for the sunshine, 'cause I ain't seen it in so long. Everything's gonna work out fine, and everything's gonna be alright. That's been all wrong, 'cause I can see the light of a brand new morning, and I can see the light of a brand new day. I can see the light of a clear blue morning. Everything's gonna be alright, gonna be okay.
It's been a long, long time since I've known the taste of freedom.
And those clinging vines that had me bound, well, I don't need 'em. I've been like a captured eagle. You know, an eagle's bound to fly. Now that I have won my freedom, like an eagle, I am eager for the sky, 'cause I can see the light of a clear blue morning, and I can see the light of a brand new day. I can see the light of a clear blue morning. Everything's gonna be alright, gonna be okay, 'cause I can see the light of a clear blue morning, and I can see the light of a brand new day. I can see the light of a clear blue morning. Everything's gonna be alright, gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be alright, gonna be okay. I can see the light.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Rebecca Wilson. Some of you have heard me tell about my faith journey from Southern Baptist to Presbyterian to Unitarian Universalist. After 30 years, I still feel like UU is home. And over the past 5 years, since I left Washington, D.C. and moved to St. Petersburg, the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg has been home for me. I appreciate the way people connect, the way we are home for one another, the way we're community for one another. and the way we care about the world outside ourselves, the people, and the planet. What means the most to me about UU St. Pete? Lately, it's been singing together, giving someone a ride, helping with the worship service, working on the congregation's transition with the team and with all of you. For the future, I hope we can bring back the reading study groups, like to broaden the scope of music, grow religious education for children and adults, and get an elevator. I care deeply about this community and where we go from here. I have faith in us, so I'm putting my heart and my money into our future. I want this community to be here next year and in the years to come. For me, for you, and for the folks in our larger community. I was asked to talk about pledging, that promise we make to support our church in the next year. In short, this congregation means the world to me. That's why I pledge. If you haven't turned in your pledge yet, you can still do it today. See me after the service or Carol Ulmer after the service. Thanks.
The day before yesterday, I blessed the food about to be served for our Friday sunset supper. Some of you were there. As usual, I prayed extemporaneously, and on Friday, the following words came to me. Every day we witness resurrection. Every day we are the resurrection. One of my favorite authors, E.B. White, that my mom used to read me, Mom is on the YouTube Live, he wrote about his dying wife, Catherine. He said, armed with a diagram and a clipboard, Catherine would get into a shabby old Brooks raincoat, much too long for her, put on a little round wool hat, pull on a pair of overshoes, and proceed to the director's chair, a folding canvas thing that had been placed for her at the edge of the garden plot. There she would sit hour after hour in the wind and the weather, with dozens of brown paper packages of new bulbs and a basket full of old ones ready for the intricate internment. White says, as the years went by and age overtook her, there was something touching in her bedraggled appearance on this awesome occasion. The small, hunched-over figure, her studied absorption in the implausible notion that there would be yet another spring. Oblivious to the ending of her own days, which she knew perfectly well were near at hand. Sitting here with her detailed chart under those dark skies in the dying October, calmly plotting the resurrection. Each of us plants bulbs that we will never see. And each of us is the recipient of bulbs planted by those who are long gone. The food we will shortly eat at coffee hour is being prepared by Kevin and others who sacrificed their participation in worship to perform this service. The ingredients were mostly brought to us by farmers we will never meet, grown on a Mother Earth that we at times worship and at times take for granted. Today, most of you brought a flower for flower communion, and none of you will be taking home the same flower. Many of you know the flower communion was created by Reverend Norb Čapek, the Unitarian minister in Prague, Czechoslovakia, where my stepfather is from. The flower communion was introduced in the United States by Čapek's widow, Reverend Maya Čapek, after her husband was killed in the Dachau concentration camp. In a very real sense, Norb Čapek's ministry, his love, and his creativity live on through the flower communion, just as our ministry, our love, and our creativity will live on once we are gone. Now, our ministry might not be as dramatic as a flower communion. Reverend M. Barclay from Iowa City writes, keep your proclamations of grandeur and give me an Easter as small as a seed, one that can be planted while it's still cold outside Iowa. It's cold in Iowa. One that can be watered with tears and demands time and patience to grow. I don't need to know how large it becomes, how long until it blossoms, or even if it will be pretty. I only want it to grow roots that dig deep down, striving for life in the underbelly of the world. Spare me the cosmic promises of otherworldly escape and point me to the sacred possibilities within reach. Tell me again about how the nutrients born from decay keep even the saddest places brimming with the potential for life. Near where I'm from in New England, there's a back road connecting the towns of Ware and Henniker, New Hampshire. And there's a house that put a very small but still noticeable sign on the lawn. It's simple, it's unadorned, doesn't draw a lot of attention to itself. One side reads, "Don't give up." The other side reads, you matter. My friend Reverend Molly Hammerhand says, every time I see it, I feel like I needed it. So in case you need it too, I'm passing on that wisdom from that random sign that relatively few people in the world will ever see, knowing that for those who do see it, it makes a difference. Don't give up, she says. You matter. Our Christian friends at Allendale United Methodist Church posted the following Easter message. You aren't so bad that God needed to kill Jesus in order to be able to love and forgive you. Empire, they said, killed Jesus because he was a good rabbi and a threat to the power structure. And my friend Reverend Kimberly Debus speaks about the Last Supper. At the meal are Jesus and his disciples, the ones closest to him that he was training to go spread his message of love and liberation. The disciples needed reassurance. Jesus tells them, okay, when you eat bread and you drink wine, you should remember me. Remember the work that we've done together. Remember the commitment, the covenant that we made to one another and to their God. Now, times are about to get really tough. The people will rise up. The government will use force. The people will resist, and people could die. So it would be easy to deny involvement, to betray one another, to lose hope, to give up. And Jesus asked them not to do that. He says, don't give up. He says, remember your covenant. He says, remember the mission. But, as we know, betrayal is what happens. After the meal, Judas leads Roman soldiers to where Jesus is praying, and he's arrested. His beloved Peter denies him 3 times. Pontius Pilate tries him, punishes him, and orders his death. And people gather around him and mock him as he dies, except for the women. These women who had been followers of Jesus, listened to his teachings, probably traveled with him, helped feed the multitudes, witnessed miracles, and certainly were present at the Last Supper. My mother sent me a video this morning about the women who were close to Jesus. Now, even if these women have been erased from most of the Bible, they are central to this biggest moment in the Easter story. In divinity school, I learned that in the first century, women were often in charge of funeral arrangements. So they'd use spices and special cloths to prepare a body for burial, then put the body in the burial tomb. And to use the Yiddish word, they sat Shiva. They'd watch and cry and remember. Each night they'd go home, get ready to come back the next day, knowing on the morning of the third day, they're to come back and do the final thing you do when someone you love has died. Finish the prayers and preparations. So when the tomb is open on Easter morning and the body's not there, you can imagine how frightening this would be. I don't know what I would do if that were my job and I get there. And it's not just any body missing. It's the body of this incredibly important person who's important to me and whose ministry is not just moving, but remarkable. Now, if you've read the whole of Christian scriptures, you remember what happens next. The women go tell the male disciples that Jesus has been resurrected. And the men are like, no, he's not. And they chastise the women for even telling the story. It's only after the men meet the risen Jesus on the road and poke into his wounds do they believe what the women had been reported, that he was resurrected. Now, these men on the road sound a little like us, like Unitarian Universalists, because we like to have proof, right? I mean, we're grounded in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We look for evidence. We look for things that make sense. Faith seems foolish, unbelievable. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous when you see an empty tomb and you think, oh, the body must be raised from the dead, as opposed to the body was stolen or not actually dead. Faith is a foolish thing when you're looking through the lens of reason and science Even the Apostle Paul, his letter to the Hebrews, describes the foolishness of faith, saying, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And yet, without faith in something, there is no hope. Faith, as foolish as it seems, and we all have faith in different things. We all come from different theologies in this room and on YouTube. Faith, as foolish as it seems, is, just as Paul says, the substance of things hoped for. And we need hope right now. Our former minister has retired. He was beloved by so many. We've been kept apart from one another by COVID, by conflicts, by personal losses and life challenges. This very building is surrounded by the violence of poverty and homelessness. The city is seeking to transform from a history of segregation and white supremacy. The country is boiling with political divisions, and the world is racked by war. It'd be so easy to stay home, focus on ourselves, deny involvement, betray one another, lose hope, give up. But I don't want us to give up. And our faith and our hope itself asks us not to give up, asks us to remember our covenant, asks us to remember our principles, remember our mission. Yes, on the face of it, it seems foolish. And to lean into the story of a man from over 2,000 years ago as a basis for hope seems especially foolish, but here's what we know. Those who heard him 2,000 years ago heard his message of hope, love, and liberation. They heard their own stories in his, their own suffering, their own struggles. They heard a new message of hope that transcended any others at the time. The death of Jesus to these people was overwhelming, devastating. He was their leader, their inspiration, prophet, teacher, Messiah. How could they continue? Imagine the cynicism of the disciples, knowing this one they believed in had been killed by the very state they had been resisting for 3 years. Yet in that cynicism and in that loss, the women still go through the motions, doing what needs to be done. My friend Reverend Kimberly says she always imagines the male disciples like huddled in a bar somewhere drinking, while the women were seeing to it that the proper rituals were performed, even if there didn't seem to be any point to it all. And it was through this act of going through the motions, despite the emptiness and the pointlessness, that they found the beginnings of resurrection. This is what I'm asking of you. Go through the motions. Do the work. Show up. And maybe like these women 2,000 years ago, maybe we will find resurrection. Maybe we will be resurrection. You could say that our church right now is going through a death and a resurrection. Our former minister is no longer the minister. We must let go of him, like those balloons I let go with the children, to receive the ticket to our next adventure. We must let go of those members who have left us, either by leaving our community or by leaving this world. These losses are painful, like Janae's trees being cut down and bleeding. But we have it in us to be those saplings she spoke about that grow between the cracks. We already have new members like Stephanie, planting seeds, already essential, already beloved. The work's not easy. It won't be quick. Anyone who's lost someone beloved knows there are many hard days, but slowly healing happens. And I suspect for those people 2,000 years ago, the hope of resurrection also crept in slowly, over time. The resurrection story grows because his followers needed hope, the hope Jesus preached in the face of continued oppression. And today in St. Petersburg, every day we witness resurrection. Every day we are resurrection. Our church's resurrection will take time, but we will prevail because so many of you have hope. So many of you go through the motions, making the food for coffee hour, feeding unhoused people on Fridays, engaging with other congregations through fast, leading covenant groups, running board meetings, calling people from the care team, helping lead worship, making your annual pledge like Rebecca did. In a moment, each of us will choose a flower that has been brought by someone else, keeping alive a tradition created by a Czech couple in the early part of the 20th century. We will continue doing the work of this church that also began in the early part of the 20th century as outlined on this timeline. And we will not do the work perfectly. We're already on that. It took forever to set up Time for All Ages, and I don't think we printed out enough programs. In small ways, we will betray one another. We'll get snippy with one another. We will take one another for granted. But we will make amends. We will take care of our precious connection to one another and our precious relationships with one another, and we will return to the essential work that needs to be done. The new member class that needs teaching, the greeters for next week, and the need to be organized, the pledge that needs to be made, the bulbs and the seeds, if you will, that need planting, some of which we will not see. Don't give up. You matter. Our coffee hour will not be a Last Supper, but still let us break bread and coffee together. Let us renew our covenant, one day at a time, one task at a time, one interaction at a time. The hope of our resurrection will creep in slowly over time. The Easter story remains because we need hope to be eternal. The Easter story remains because it calls us back to love our neighbor as ourselves, to see the inherent worth and dignity in every person, to fight for justice, to draw the circle wide, to hope for a better life, work for a better world. In the words of Dolly Parton, sung by John and James, it has been a long, dark night, and I've been waiting for the morning. It's been a long, hard fight, but I see a brand new day dawning every day. We witness resurrection. Every day we are the resurrection. Tomb is empty. Hope lives. Happy Easter, everyone.
Now let us remember our connection to one another, and let us not forget our contributions to support the means to those connections. If you are a newcomer here, please refrain from making a donation. This service is our gift to you, and your presence is your gift to us. After the plate passes, feel free to come up and select a flower from either vase. If you would like a greeter to bring a flower to you, a greeter will come around and pass out flowers. Please choose whatever flower speaks to you. The offering will now be given and received.
Even if you did not bring a flower, we have extra. Please, everyone, come forward and take a flower with you. Flowers are coming forward. Loves and the flowers. Brian gets a flower. Everyone gets a flower. Now feel free to follow along with the hand gestures as Stephanie extinguishes our chalice. The words to UU St. Pete's traditional chalice extinguishing are in your order of service and online in the text chat. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry into our hearts and out into the world. Please remain seated during the postlude, and I'll see you outside for breaking bread and coffee with you and the Easter egg hunt. Blessings on you all. Go in peace. Happy Easter. I should have talked a little bit longer. John just said carbohydrates, and I have no idea why.